Outward. Is that the one of the ones that was updated this year or something?
Yeah, well, it came out in 2019, but it was very buggy, to be polite. Um, so they redid it for the next gen consoles for PS5 and Xbox One. Think of it kind of like a Dark Souls remaster.
I think I have played that. I think I tried playing that with my wife.
Yeah, it's super difficult. Super difficult. So it's a survival RPG. So you have aspects of like temperature differences. You can freeze to death. Uh, Too warm, you have issues with drought, fatigue, hunger, etc. The typical survival things. Um, and it's a bit like Elden Ring, I guess, in terms of open world. Uh, Not to the same extent of size, but that kind of feel. Have you ever played the Fable games?
I tried. I believe it was the second game. Yeah, my a friend of mine had it for Xbox 360, and I played it. I didn't. I don't. I didn't. I don't think I got too far, but I actually recently got Game Pass, so I probably should add it to my collection and try it out sometime because I think there's Fable 1, 2, and 3 that's available on Game Pass.
Oh, nice. Well, if you try Fable 1, it's a bit like that in terms of kind of the open worldness, but
Hmm.
it's Elden Ring difficulty because it has crafting in it.
Okay.
Um, and story-wise, it's pretty good. It can be a little bit slow, but you start out as your character owes a debt to the tribe chieftain, and then from there, once you've paid the debt, you can pick one of three factions, a bit like Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Hmm.
It's that kind of concept. Each one has its own parallel story that overlaps with each other, which is pretty cool. And what I found really interesting with the story is the quests actually have time limits to complete them, but you can have up to 7 months on some quests to finish them.
Hmm.
In terms of
Wow.
time limit, I thought that was crazy when I saw that. I've never seen a game do that before that I know of, like to that length of time.
You said it
Um,
takes 7 months in
no,
game.
the quest can actually last up to 7 months before you've got
Oh,
to complete it.
well, how long
That's
does
how
a month
crazy.
last in the game?
You can actually go off real time,
Oh,
or you can set it to the way you can do in game, where it's got its own time frame because you can
oh,
actually sleep and build campfires and tents.
okay, yeah,
But you can also be robbed if
oh,
you've got to like say there's an area in the game that has like abandoned buildings. So if you build like a campfire in there, you're not going to be seen. But say if you were to build outside the buildings, you can actually get robbed by thieves in the game.
that's kind of
So
like that sounds like Oblivion.
yeah, that's yeah, that kind of style. Or I thought World of Warcraft a little bit. That kind of idea of strategy with extra players.
I always found that charming for some reason. Whenever I'm sleeping in Oblivion and then I wake up next morning and it says I was robbed, and you don't even see the person that robs you. It just says you robbed, but for some reason it just adds so much atmosphere to the game.
Oh yeah, 100%, because it means you've got to be a little bit more smart,
Hmm.
and you get annoyed because you feel like the actual character because you feel like you've been robbed. um, but yeah, it's a bit like Fable.
Okay.
Even with the walk, like you do spend a lot of time walking through the areas without little combat. A bit like Fable has with the traveler merchants.
Hmm.
But this is where the issues come in with the game for me. With it, the combat is very dated, like very dated. It's super
Wow.
clumsy.
What did they
Um,
fix exactly in the?
I think honestly, from what they fixed a couple of loading issues, and they fixed a couple of issues with dialogue because it's also a bit like Witcher in terms of depending on your decisions, the
Hmm.
quests kind of fluctuate. But from what I've really gathered, it's kind of just a HD remaster for the most part with a little bit of extra content. But
Okay.
the combat is Dark Souls, the original Dark Souls combat is smoother. Let me just say, put it like that. It's better in that aspect. As in Outward, the combat feels super slow. It doesn't feel like it's timed well. Like there's input delay.
Hmm.
And then I don't know. Have you played the game called Kingdom Come Deliverance?
I
Do you
tried.
know? It's the combat in that game. It felt a bit clunky. It feels exactly like that.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you
That
mention it.
exact combat, yeah. that exact combat. So, that kind of slows the pace of the game down, and it's a real big negative for me. But I think overall, it's been a good game. I'd never really got into it originally when it first came out because of all the issues. So I do think it's a good game. I think it's an interesting one to try out.
Now, is it a very grindy game, or can you get through it pretty quickly?
It depends on how strategic you want to be.
Mm.
So you can get through it pretty quick, especially using the debug menu to add items. Like you can add gold to start off pretty quick with to, get like backpack upgrades and certain weapons straight out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So it does speed it up in that sense. But if you're going for the traditional route, it can be quite a long time. You
Okay.
could spend a month, 2 months maybe on it, depending on how much free time you have, because it's that typical RPG where it's supposed to feel grindy, a bit like RuneScape as well. That grindy aspect.
So,
Um,
if there's anyone that tried it like maybe a few years ago, and they heard about this update but were skeptical, I mean, is there anything you can tell them, or someone like me, because I haven't played it in a few years, you know, something that can motivate them to try it out again?
um, that's a good question. I would say if you're gonna try it out again, do it because of the HD redo, like the remaster, because some of the areas look fantastic now. But also, if you do decide to go back into it with the idea of not expecting to beat the game in like a week, because it takes time to learn
Mm.
and really appreciate all the little clunky aspects of it, because it really does shine a bit like Dark Souls 2. Once you get rid of the clunkiness, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
So
you mean adapt to the controls?
yeah, pretty much. If you can get past the combat and the feel, it's a fantastic game. You just have to learn to work with it. So I would definitely say go into it with patience and knowing that
Mm.
okay, I'm not going to complete this in a week. I'm going to enjoy it and really, you know, focus on the mini details, and it becomes such a breeze after that.
Okay, all right. Um,
So
was there anything else you wanted to say about it? I don't really have
no,
much
I
to say
mean,
because I only played maybe, heck, I probably maybe only played an hour, and that was maybe a year or two ago, so I don't really remember much about it. I just remember getting lost.
if you're really looking for a game that tackles you, like strategy based,
Hmm.
then it's the game because it's Elden Ring difficulty, but on steroids because of the clunkiness.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people like it because of that.
Well, like I said, once you can,
Yeah.
appreciate the clunkiness, it is a good game.
Okay.
So
So it's like when you say clunkiness due to difficulty, are you talking about maybe something like The Lion King on Nintendo, the Super Nintendo?
yeah, a little bit.
Okay, gotcha.
Because compared to say Elden Ring combat, it's not as polished,
Mm.
and it's not even 100% close to polished in
Are,
that aspect.
so are they just going to continue working on this game, or are they going to make a more refined game later, or do they prefer to have that clunkiness?
Honestly, I don't know because I didn't even expect to see it get remastered for the PS5 and the Xbox. That was a shock because I
Huh?
didn't think it did that well to begin with.
Uh huh.
But there's always that niche group of people, isn't there, in the gaming community that
Yeah.
love it and find a way to appreciate it. So, I hope they make another game and they can make it a little bit better. Maybe make it a little bit more like Dragon Age Inquisition. With the areas where there's a little bit more to do besides picking up materials
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. And then minor encounters, but you want to avoid them because the clunkiness. It's a weird circle of awkwardness, but I just think it's a good game still for what it is. You still get enjoyment,
Okay.
which is the main thing. And I got it on sale because Steam has been pumping it on sale quite a lot, so you don't really lose too much either.